All right, my friends, Mike Walker here with you, and the last final module and lesson of this consulting launch kit program. Just congratulations for being here. There's a lot of lessons we've covered, a lot of ground we've covered together, and you have now made it to this last module of the course. I just want to congratulate you. It's no small feat, and hopefully you've learned a lot along the way, and more importantly, applied a lot along the way. I want to make sure that you are actively in the market. There's certainly incentives and bonuses and good things on the line for you to do so, to make sure that you're actually taking this knowledge, not just learning it, but applying it, right? Because knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. It's when we actually take what we know and put it to use, that's when it becomes powerful. So hopefully that's what you've been doing along the whole journey here. Now let's dive right in. I want to cover some serious ground here with you today as well, because this is really where we kind of take the next leap into your evolution as an entrepreneur. All right, so module 7, the future of consulting, becoming a 7-figure consultant. In this module, we're going to cover what true success looks like, the road ahead, and how to develop yourself for ultimate performance as a consultant. Okay, so this is really taking you kind of now to the next level. You've been focused on the immediates and step-by-step processes for getting things off the ground. So great work for that. But now it's time to lift our eyes a little bit to the horizon and start looking forward, farther ahead, to make sure that you absolutely see what's coming and make sure that you have clear, vision of where you want to take this thing. All right. Excellent. So here's what we're going to cover: making the jump from entrepreneur to CEO, the 4 stages of evolution, a hard lesson I'm going to share with you from my past, and then we're going to talk about MDC, modern day consulting. All right. Excellent. This is a great quote by Richard Branson. I don't think that I need to introduce you to who he is. He's obviously an entrepreneur to the core in every sense of the word, and is doing amazing things in those various industries that he's involved in. And here he says, success is not about the destination, it's about the journey. Keep setting new goals and enjoying each step of the process. The reason why I chose this quote is because, where we are here in the program, we're in the final module here in Launch Kit. It's celebratory. It's like, yeah, I finally did it, right? And you want to embrace that. That's a good thing. You definitely want to take the time to acknowledge the time, effort, and energy that you've put in to get to this point. But what I also want to encourage you to do is make sure that you don't associate your happiness, the dopamine in your brain that you feel and in your body for just like, yeah, I finally did it, right? Don't let that just fade and kind of go, okay, well, now I'm not happy, now I'm not excited because now I have some other big mountain to climb and I won't be happy until I get to the top. It's really, really imperative that you associate your energy, your happiness and your fulfillment from the process, not the actual completion of a said goal. Because if you do, you'll have that kind of man on the moon situation where every time you achieve some new level, you'll very quickly normalize it, and then you'll be searching for the next thing. And it's okay to want more. It's okay to want to continually grow. That's what we are inherently, designed to do. But I just want to encourage you to enjoy the process and make sure that you find that fulfillment along the way, and not just when you hit, large recognizable milestones. All right, let's talk about the gap from 9 to 5 to entrepreneur. This is a big one. A lot of people can make this jump. Many fail. Some survive. In fact, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, or the SBA, it is estimated that fewer than 50% of businesses will make it past their first 2 years. Now, you may have heard statistics like that. I know I have over the years. The crazy thing about it is that's literally like flip a coin status. Like heads and tails, let's flip it. And either, one side I make it and the other side I don't. Is that really how you want to be building your business? Is that really how you want to be, pursuing your future as an entrepreneur? Probably not, right? So what are the defining factors that make or break the entrepreneurs that actually survive? What is it? What's that differential, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today. The 3 words that encompass all of that is confidence, clarity, and momentum. Confidence, clarity, and momentum. Just a little bit farther down in the course here, we're going to talk about those key words and where those are derived from. Where do I get confidence? Where do I get clarity? And how do I maintain and generate momentum, right? We're going to talk about that in the upcoming slides. Now let's talk about the gap from entrepreneur to CEO. This is a much, much bigger gap, okay? Remember, we went from 9 to 5 to entrepreneur, right? So people are in their 9 to 5. Maybe they're like, you know what? I want to own my own business. I want to start something new, and off they go, right? That's great. And that's how most people start. And that's just an awesome place to be. Most people can survive doing that for quite some time without a whole lot of skill per se. They may just be very talented in a particular area. They're very passionate about a particular service or skill that they can bring to the marketplace, and they can monetize it, and they'll get pretty far as a solo operator, or maybe even as a small business by most people's standards. You can go pretty far on that level. But the gap from that being the solo operator or small business owner to a full-blown CEO is much, much greater. It's a much larger evolutionary path that's required to take you from just a typical entrepreneur, what most people would consider themselves as, to a true vetted and industry leading CEO. There's a lot more involved, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here in the next slides, which are the 4 stages of entrepreneurial evolution. All right, I really want you to know these 4 stages so that you can recognize them in your own journey. And more importantly, you can recognize what kind of challenges and things that you're going to have to overcome along the way. And this is something that I'll show you exactly how to do. All right, so stage 1. This is typically when an entrepreneur is in the 10K to 30K per month range. This is a fairly standard place to be as again, a solo operator or a small business owner. This is where a lot of people kind of get stuck, in all honesty, because they don't necessarily know how to organically grow out of this stage. Again, they probably got to this point just by being good at what they do, passionate about what they do. A lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants get stuck here. They just they're doing it, but they basically just own a job, right? And the common challenges at this stage are they're obsessed with the process, meaning they're very hands-on, they're very involved, focused on the day-to-day. So they're not necessarily looking upwards in terms of goal setting, quarterly agendas, annual objectives. They're not necessarily focused on those. They're just dealing with the day-to-day, just making sure that they keep the lights on, making sure that they, the invoices get paid, and that they're, the receivables are coming in, all those things, right? The day-to-day operations. Another common challenge we see a lot is just simple belief issues. They kind of look at this and go, I'm here, I'm there, and I made it, but they're not necessarily, ecstatic with the results that they're getting, but they also don't necessarily know where else to go. And so they just kind of evolved into this position, right? Well, this is a very common thing. Now, the solutions for this stage and to really evolve out of it are 2 things. Number 1, sales. Sales cures all. Okay, it is the lifeblood of your business. It is literally the fuel that you put into an engine for your business, right? So you need sales. At this point in your evolution, nothing else really matters. Just get sales. And sure, there's a lot of things that you can make better, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But at the end of the day, you really just got to focus on sales and making sure that you have that lifeblood of revenue coming into your business. And secondly to that is your networks and associations. So who you're hanging around with, what kind of people you're connected to. This is a big piece of this, because unless you start associating with higher level thinkers, people that have already kind of been there and done that with what you're currently working on, unless you have people that you can connect with and on that level and really help guide you, you're really probably just going to loop in the same area. This is going to become more of a cul-de-sac instead of a freeway for you. All right, it's a pretty big sticking point for most people. Stage 2 is where you're, generally speaking, you're going to be at about that 100K per month range. Okay. And a lot of people will be like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's over $1 million a year. In all honesty, this is actually quite small by any business standards globally. 100K per month business is actually quite small, especially when you consider, all the expenses that can be incurred by a business to generate that type of revenue. You're not exactly, sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais here. All right. So although it may sound good depending on where you're currently at personally, the reality is that 100K per month is actually quite small as a business. And a lot of the common challenges here that we see are simply lead generation and concentration risk because of it. So typically what will happen, especially like in the information space as a coach, a consultant, an educator of any type, if they're generating leads through, say, like paid traffic, a webinar or VSL, for example, they'll generally can get up to about this 100K per month range on that VSL or on that one particular advertising strategy that they've been using. However, what happens is that once you get to about this point, you're kind of tapping out. You need to decentralize that risk, because if that one element of your lead generation strategy for whatever reason falls apart, you now have no business. And we see this all the time. People have generated quite a lot of revenue for themselves with a particular webinar, for example, or one offer. but they literally have nothing else. Like that's all they've ever done and built. And so the concentration risk is just huge. You really, really need to start looking at this. And this is a big problem at this stage. Burnout and fatigue, just straight out burnout and fatigue, because you are, deep in it at this point. The entrepreneur, you're making real money, but at this point you inevitably are going to have a team member or two or three or too many. And the reality is that you're going to need to figure out, how do I get out from underneath all that workload? And another challenge we see because of that is overhiring and inflationary burn rate. And what I mean by that is that people start going, we're 100K a month. I need more people. We got to fulfill, we got to make it. And so they start bringing in more and more people to make up for the lack of systems and operational control that they actually have in their business. And because of that, they have an inflationary burn rate, meaning their expenses continue to grow as their revenue grows. So their actual percentage of profit barely increases, if at all. And in many cases, it actually decreases. So getting bigger at this stage can actually cost you more. In fact, you can actually be far less profitable at this stage rather than in stage one. Ironically, you can actually take home more money in stage one than in stage two. And I've seen that over and over and over again. So solutions here are opportunity volume. You just need to decentralize your lead flow and make sure that you're not becoming to just having one source of leads coming in and that's it, right? So you really need to look at diversifying your lead flow. And same thing, network and association. You need people to be able to help guide you out of this particular stage in your business, because you can get stuck here pretty quick, but the risks, or more importantly, the challenges that you're facing are just more expensive. So when things don't go right, they go right, or they go wrong rather, faster and more expensively, right? So it's definitely one that you want to watch out for. So opportunity volume is really what it comes down to, is just making sure that you have enough lead flow coming in to support the business growth. All right, let's move on. Stage 3, 250K per month, common challenges, operations and fulfillment breakdown. This is really where your business starts to crank. You are now a full-blown business, in my opinion, but you are definitely going to start feeling things. And this is going to become a magnifier of all the things that are not efficient in your business. So yes, the revenue will increase, but that will just magnify all the weak links in your operations. So think about like a concrete foundation, for example. As soon as you start putting more and more and more and more weight on that thing, what happens? You start to find the cracks, and those cracks start to get bigger because it can't support the weight. It could when it was smaller or less heavy, but as things get bigger, naturally more weight's going to bear down, and those things are going to show up in your business. Market fatigue, that's another one where if you're, especially if you're aggressively marketing, you're naturally going to start feeling the limits of your reach, your total addressable market. And you're going to need to figure out, how do I address my market in a different way, a different message, et cetera. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the entrepreneur themselves becomes the bottleneck. They're still too deep in it, and they don't necessarily know how to work themselves out of the business. And so all the decision making, all the front load of thought really bears down on the entrepreneur themselves. And this is a big one. And so they kind of paint themselves in a corner operationally, and they don't necessarily know how to get out. All right, so these are very, very, very common challenges at this point. Solutions, enterprise quality systems and automation. You have to start to incorporate things that are going to allow the business to scale without the entrepreneur involved. Or at least with not them physically hands-on involved, at least, right? And then secondly, diversified messaging. You're going to have to figure out how to address the market in different ways, whether it be different services, different positioning of your offer, different types of products, front end, low end, high end. You're really going to have to start to diversify how you approach the marketplace, because if you're just going in with one solid offer the whole time, eventually you're going to start to find the edges and you'll experience what we call market fatigue. Okay, now we've covered a lot of steps here. This is the last one, stage 4, about 500K per month and going up from there, of course. Common challenges here at this point are cash flow management and financial modeling. This is where you have a full-blown legit business now, but there comes a lot of complications more internally. Okay, so human resources, internal communications, this becomes very apparent when an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily know how to develop these systems or how to incorporate the types of communications and whatnot inside of the business to keep everything running at full steam. And then lastly, technology infrastructure and regulatory compliance. At this point in your business, you are now going to start popping up on different people's radars, and you're going to need to make sure that you keep everything very much buttoned up in your business. And that, of course, just takes people with expertise. And so because of that, the solutions, the key points that you're really going to need to focus on at this stage in your business is talent acquisition management. How do I get people that are going to help me reach these goals and, more importantly, face these challenges successfully, right? You're going to need talent. You can't just find somebody on some job board somewhere. You're really going to need to attract A players into your organization. You need to learn how to do that. And lastly, culture and compensation. You must develop a strong culture and understand the compensation. And I don't just mean monetarily, by the way. In fact, I would even suggest to you that a lot of your best A players, yes, of course, everyone wants to make money and they all want to get paid, what they're worth, obviously, right? However, compensation can also be culture, can also be vision and mission. These are all different elements of what's going to attract true A players into your business. If you don't have these things, they're simply not going to stick around just for the paycheck. There's too many other more competitive businesses that are willing to, give them a bigger piece of the pie, not just financially, but in the ability to take ownership of their roles in their divisions, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So it really just takes a whole nother level as a CEO to understand how to develop this type of culture. All right. So those are the 4 stages. And what I want to do now is share with you a hard lesson. And that is that all these different stages and challenges that you're going to overcome, can you approach them by yourself? Can you do it? Absolutely. And I hope for your sake that you will. You've gotten this far in the Launch Kit program. I really hope that you do, get the opportunity to grow through the journey that is required to take you from stage 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an incredible journey. It's one that I've done myself, and it's a phenomenal ride. But I will share with you personally that if you do not link arms with people that have been there and done that, it is exceptionally difficult, and it is far, far slower, more expensive, and painful than it needs to be. So I just simply urge you to make sure that you align yourself with an organization, with mentors, with other people, with a network of people that have already gone ahead and know what the top of that particular mountain is that you're climbing. You need them to know what it looks like. They need to have climbed that mountain before so that they can help guide you to the top. What better way to climb a mountain than with someone who's been to the top a few times, right? Versus, hey guys, I want to climb that mountain. You want to come with me? Sure, let's give it a go. I've never been up there, but let's try it out. Not the best scenario, right? Same thing with business, for sure. Success isn't about who you know, it's about who knows you. And so I really want to urge you to embrace that fact that you want to associate with a circle. We have a very strong presence here with the Modern Day Consultant program. So I want to share with you what that looks like and why it's such a powerful element for your business going forward. So let's talk about it really quick. Consulting, community, and curriculum. These are what we call the 3 C's within the Modern Day Consultant program. And the reason why these are so impactful is because they provide clarity, confidence, and momentum. All right. Curriculum gives you the clarity, knowing what to do, when to do it, how to do it. The community gives you confidence because you're not alone. It means you're linking arms with people that have been there, done that. And the consulting gives you the momentum. The consulting is live calls, live events, getting in the right room, getting around people that are going in the same direction as you. Momentum is such a key element of business. It is paramount. I want to give you an analogy of, like, if you can imagine you and I jump into a little plane, for example, and we've got a runway, but at the end of the runway are a bunch of rocks, right? And we get into the plane and we go, okay, throttle down, let's go. And we're going down the runway, and about halfway down, we go, you know what, I'm not so sure. So we pull back on the throttle. And we go, no, let's go. I think we're fine. And so you put back on the throttle again. And then a little bit farther down, you go, oh, I'm not so sure. And you pull back the throttle. What are we doing? We're going down the runway, up and down, up and down. We're like bouncing off the ground, but we're never actually breaking gravity and getting up into the air, right? Why? Because we're never getting momentum. And that is exactly what happens in a lot of people's businesses. Because they don't have clarity, because they don't have confidence, they never gain momentum because they're never sure enough to really put the throttle down and hold it down. They don't have that accountability. They don't have the network in place to help them keep the throttle down long enough to break gravity, get off the ground safely and up into the air before they crash their business into the rocks at the end of the runway. Okay. So I know that's kind of a dramatic analogy, but it's so, so true. You must have these 3 C's in your life, in your business as an entrepreneur. It's just paramount. All right. Now, the Modern Day Consultant program is a private network for growth-minded entrepreneurs who want to scale intelligently without fatigue and burnout. We provide personalized mentorship through a combination of one-on-one coaching, group masterminds, both online and in-person training events, as well as a continually evolving library of curriculum to aid our clients at every level of their evolution as a business owner in the areas of team, finance, marketing, sales, operation, and scale. All right. So the live events and call structure is awesome. It's one of the most valuable and powerfully effective aspects of the MDC program. And it's a robust schedule of calls and events that we have every single month. These are hosted by our panel of experts and provide you with an ongoing support system for every area of your business, regardless of what stage of evolution you are currently in. So as an example of that, on Mondays, we have a weekly mindset call. We have paid ads training every single month. We have sales training every month. We have marketing training every month. Live consulting calls every Wednesday, Q&A open format, really fun. We have the office fly-ins where you literally can just fly in anytime you want during the month, and you can join us at these office fly-in days to get answers about your business and dive in. We do all kinds of workshops and masterminds. It's fantastic. And then of course we have every quarter we hold 2-day specialty events. These are typically themed around particular environment, a particular topic or skill set. The ones coming up, for example, are on sales and 8-figure teams. I mean, we have a lot of really cool things planned for every single one of these quarterly events. And as an MDC member, you get into all of them for free. All right. So we also have quarterly business review calls, what we call QBRs. This is what I spend a lot of my time doing with our clients, is really making sure that we have absolute clarity of what they want to achieve on a quarterly basis. So these are one-on-one personalized goal setting sessions where we actually break down the business, reverse engineer the objectives, and then myself and the student and the client are then able to work together on that shared vision of what they want their business to look like over the next 90 days. It's a really fun piece of the business. We also do what are called EOM reports, or monthly end of month performance reports. Every single MDC client is responsible for submitting these performance reports. They're very simple, there's very short form, but what it does is allows us to understand where you're at in your business, what you're working on, and more importantly, what you're needing help with in the coming month ahead. So it's a really powerful way of me being able to keep track of everybody in their business and make sure that we know exactly what they need and how we can help them get there. Now, getting started immediately upon enrollment, we'll be given access to MDC introductory course. So there's literally a mini course. It's about an hour long total that walks you through every element of MDC, where to go for what, how to extract the most value, et cetera, et cetera. It's literally like a seamless onboarding experience that we've generated. And it's one that I would encourage you to kind of mimic for your own business, to be honest. We also have tiered MDC benefits. This is a really cool piece. Is one of the most unique benefits of the MDC membership is the ability to unlock tools, resources, and additional levels of support and access to our executive team as the months pass. Some examples of this are a private Slack channel with virtual concierge support. So there's literally a one-on-one Slack channel that you have with our entire team just for you. We also have on-demand, in-house, done-for-you tech support, so you can get help with anything that's maybe technical, automation related, website related, etc. We have an in-house tech support team that can do things for you, and of course, exposure to a bunch of opportunities inside our community, publications, podcasts. We actually are actively promoting our MDC members and their businesses. The list goes on and on. I honestly am not going to spend all the time here to go over every single one of the benefits we've created, but there are a lot of them, and they're very, very cool. As we wrap up here, team. So one of the cool features about MDC is the fact that not only do you have access to me as your client services director, Taylor as the founder of the company, but you also have access to Gabriel, our chief of staff, Dane Mormon, head of all things marketing, Raheem, head of sales. So you literally are able to tap into our panel of experts, or what we call your board of advisors, for whatever you need. For example, if you're dealing with something like financial modeling or internal operations, you would want to go to Gabriel versus myself or Taylor. Why would you not go to someone who spends all their time doing that particular skill, right? So that's kind of the point here, is that if you have a marketing question, we take you to Dane. If you have a sales question, take you to Raheem, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really powerful way of having an embedded board of advisors built into your business, and it's literally plug and play for you. It's instant on enrollment with MDC. All right, now our frameworks, this is a big one with the curriculum, is that the frameworks that we use are not based on gut or intuition. This isn't like, I think this is what's working right now. No, These are model dependent and they're developed from robust data sets and hundreds of thousands of individual students over the years. All right, so this is accumulation of Taylor's experience, my experience, and we've modeled these together and created a structured 4 categories of expertise, which I'll share with you here in a second. And they're designed to address the 4 main freedoms that entrepreneurs need in order to build profitable, durable, and safe businesses. Again, this is CEO stuff, guys. This isn't just entrepreneur like, hey, you've got a little business. We're taking you to the next level here, and I want to show you exactly what it takes to do that. The beauty of this is that you'll never not know what to do again. You'll never be in that situation ever again because you literally have us in your pocket available to help you every single step of the way. All right. So here are the 4 categories of expertise I talked about: mindset and leadership, offering and pricing and ascension, team, operations and finance, marketing, sales, and attention. These are the 4 areas of expertise that all of our curriculum focuses in on. So depending on where you're at in your business, where you're at in the 4 stages of evolution as an entrepreneur, where you're at in current revenue flow, we have playbooks amongst these 4 different areas of expertise that you can then plug into your business. So we literally have playbooks for all of these different stages. So it's just a matter of knowing where you're at. And this is exactly what, as an example, as client services director, I help our clients do: identify what they're working on next. And then we pull the playbook for that specific thing and plug it into their business. They never have to worry about not knowing what to do to reach the next level. Now, there are 4 main freedoms that come with that. So competition freedom, meaning you're able to differentiate yourself strongly and clearly from the competitors in your market. Instability freedom, you'll never have that up and down, like not sure what's coming, what's going type feeling, because you have systems in place with financial modeling and pricing strategy in play. You also have labor freedom. So you have teams, systems, and leadership fully developed. So you're never just kind of figuring it out on your own. You're never the bottleneck of your business. You actually have a team and systems and leadership in play. And then lastly, as you work your way through the 4 stages of evolution as an entrepreneur, you then find enterprise freedom. And that's a key element here, is because you have enterprise value built into your business. You have exits and asset growth totally sorted, and you really understand that the legal and financial structures required to realize the best and most profitable benefits to your business. So as you develop through these 4 main levels, you'll also be able to live those 4 main freedoms, right? See how that works? They all work together. There are self-supporting stages as you develop through competition, instability, labor, and enterprise. You're able to accomplish those varying goals that we talked about, or stages rather, in the entrepreneurial evolution. Now, I did just do a quick dive here in our MDC channel as we wrap up with some of the testimonials. I'm not going to take the time here to read these verbatim, okay? But there are a lot of them. They go on and on and on. These is literally just some snapshots I took the other day as I was assembling this slide deck. You can pause the screen if you want to read them. They're fantastic. Every single one of these people is just a pleasure to work with, and they are a value add, a true value add to the community here at MDC. And the beauty is, once you're in MDC, you get to work with them, you get to ask them questions, you get to pick their brain and ask for feedback for your own business. It's a very community orientated environment, and one where what I call the mind hive. Anytime you have a question, you're not sure about something in your business, what you should do next, or if you have something going on, you kind of want to get someone's feedback, you literally have dozens and dozens and dozens of other highly exceptionally talented, skilled entrepreneurs that you can ask input and just crowdsource ideas and feedback from them. And again, the screenshots go on and on, but we'll wrap it at that, okay? So my encouragement to you is simply to get into the right room, okay? Remember what I said, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And that is the differentiator for most businesses and why some fail and some don't. I really want you to be on the other side of that coin. I want you to be able to have the confidence, clarity, and momentum required to be successful. And the easiest, fastest, and most secure way of doing that is getting into the right room with the right people. And that is precisely what MDC is all about. All right. So I encourage you to learn more about what MDC is and how it can help you. It would be a pleasure to work with you further and help you evolve through those 4 stages that we talked about today. All right. We'll see you in the next training. Hopefully we'll see you on the next call. And more importantly, I hope that we'll see you at the next event. I would love to welcome you into MDC and introduce you to all our great peers that we have inside of the program. All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you in the next one.